Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your pile of sources, articles, research your notes, and cut through the noise to bring you the most important, most surprising nuggets of knowledge.
And today we're diving into something really quite special.
We really are. Something released over 2 decades ago, a piece of media that, honestly, it baffled people, it frustrated them. Some players were even angry when it first came out.
It's such a fascinating case, isn't it? Because now, looking back, it's seen completely differently. It's not just liked, it's widely considered this prophetic masterpiece.
Oh, a controversial masterpiece. That's the term that keeps coming up. A game that somehow foresaw so many of the big societal challenges we're dealing with right now.
It really did. It just broke conventions left and right, leaving this legacy of debate and this relevance that feels almost eerie today. It just keeps feeling more relevant.
Which is exactly why we need to unpack it. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the world of Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, MGS2 as most people know it. Our main guide here is a pretty comprehensive Wikipedia entry. We're going to use that to peel back all the layers, the revolutionary gameplay, that mind-bending plot that split opinions, and these themes that turned out to be startlingly prescient.
And our mission really is to get why. Why did this game, which got such mixed reactions to its story initially, age into this really profound commentary on, the digital age, information control, even the nature of truth itself?
Yeah, how did that happen?
And it wasn't an accident, that's the key thing. Our sources make it clear the creators deliberately filled this narrative with betrayals and sudden reversals. They wanted to blur the lines between what is real and what is fantasy. It was designed, really, to make players question absolutely everything.
So get ready for that. Expect your expectations to be completely subverted as we go through this. You might even, walk away with a new way of looking at our own digital world.
It's going to be quite a ride.
Definitely. So let's start at the beginning. What did we think we were getting when this game first launched?
The initial drop, what we thought we knew, gameplay and first impressions.
Okay, so MGS2 drops in 2001.
Yeah.
And whatever you eventually thought about the story, one thing was undeniable right away. The technical side was brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. Even people who found the plot, confusing or frustrating had to admit how polished it looked and felt. It got universal acclaim for its technical achievements right off the bat.
Critics were just raving about the graphics, the incredible attention to detail everywhere you looked, and the stealth gameplay. It was such a huge leap from the first game.
Yeah, and that initial buzz, that acclaim for the surface stuff, it built this foundation of excitement, Game Informer gave it a perfect 10/10.
A perfect score.
Right, and GameSpot hit it with a 9.6, telling people, you must play Metal Gear Solid 2. It wasn't just positioned as good, it was essential, groundbreaking.
So people were already invested before the story started doing its thing.
Exactly. That initial buy-in made the later twists hit even harder because you were already hooked by the gameplay and the presentation.
And that gameplay was revolutionary. Tactical espionage action, the subtitle. It wasn't just marketing fluff. It really delivered. It was a massive step up from the original Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Just a much broader range of skills.
Yeah, think about the first-person aiming they added.
Right. And it wasn't just for looking around. You could actually target specific points.
Like blinding guards with steam. Or shooting fruit to cause a distraction.
Or hitting weak spots precisely. It just opened up so many tactical options, layers upon layers of strategy.
And the movement, too. It was so much more refined. You could actually walk slowly, creep across floors to be silent.
Crucial for sneaking?
Totally. Or like hanging off walkways to hide from guards below. Such a cool mechanic.
They took basic things like peeking around corners and made them dynamic. You could lean out, fire from cover.
Yeah, and the new stuff too, like leaping over railings, hiding in lockers, the tension of doing that.
Oh yeah, or holding enemies at gunpoint to get items.
Even little things like shooting out enemy radios so they couldn't call for backup, that changed everything.
It really did. And the environment itself felt alive, right? Weather, smell, temperature. It all affected your stealth.
It absolutely immersed you. You felt like a real agent dealing with a real environment.
But I think where it really raised the stakes was the enemy AI.
Yeah.
The guards were given more advanced AI to prevent an imbalance of power. This was way beyond the first game.
Oh, definitely. They weren't just following predictable paths anymore. You felt like they were actually thinking.
Right.
Yeah, that collective AI was a huge deal. It was considered one of the best in gaming for many years. Guards worked in squads.
Ah.
If one spotted you, they wouldn't just run at you. They'd radio for backup, a strike team.
And that team would try to flank you, cut off your escape routes.
Exactly. And they weren't just basic guards either. Strike teams had body armor, riot shields. They were tough.
And even if you got away, they'd still sweep the area.
A team would sweep in to check the area. You constantly had to be thinking, moving, replanning. It made every encounter feel genuinely dangerous.
And the cover system was better too, right? For both you and the enemies.
Yeah, expanded from the first game, taking cover, popping out to shoot, blind firing grenades. It turned firefights into this dynamic, kind of terrifying chess match.
What also blew my mind and was such a departure from other action games then was the non-lethal approach.
Oh, right. The whole game, even the boss fights, you could beat without deliberately killing anyone.
Using tranquilizer guns, stun grenades, melee.
It wasn't just like a harder difficulty. It added this ethical layer to the gameplay itself. You had to think about your actions.
It made you feel less like a killing machine and more like
Yeah.
an agent.
Yeah, it encouraged a different kind of skill, patience, precision, tactical thinking over just brute force. It wove the morality right into how you played.
So, okay. Groundbreaking gameplay, stunning tech, rave reviews. How on earth did this game end up being so divisive?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
What made people call the plot incomprehensible or overly cumbersome if the mechanics were so solid?
This is where the deep dive really starts, where we peel back those layers of deception and the ground starts shifting. Big time.
The ground shifts beneath our feet. The plot and the protagonist switch.
Okay, so if you thought the tech was impressive, just wait. MGS2 starts messing with your head almost immediately.
Right from the get-go.
It sets up this alternate history backdrop. Feels like a direct sequel at first, right? Part 1 is the tanker chapter in 2007. Then it jumps to 2009 for the plant chapter near New York.
And you start as Solid Snake, the legend himself.
Infiltrating a tanker carrying a new Metal Gear, RAY, feels familiar, comfortable almost. Like, okay, here we go again. More classic Snake action. The tension builds.
And that familiarity is the setup. It's
Yeah.
precisely what makes the first major twist, the first betrayal, hit so hard.
The tanker gets attacked by Russian mercenaries, led by Colonel Dralukovich and his daughter, Olga. Okay, tense situation.
But then Ocelot shows up, Snake's old nemesis, and he betrays the Russians.
Right, scuttles the ship, and then there's that bizarre moment where he sees Snake, and it's like Liquid Snake's will possesses him through the transplanted arm.
Yeah, and he escapes with Metal Gear RA.
Yeah.
It just shatters any sense of a normal story right there. You're left completely bewildered. What just happened? What kind of game is this? The curiosity and tension just spike.
Okay, then fast forward 2 years, 2009. There's this environmental cleanup facility, the Big Shell, built over where the tanker sank. And it gets seized by terrorists, calling themselves the Sons of Liberty. And their leader claims he is Solid Snake.
Which is immediately like, wait, what?
Exactly. The U.S. president is hostage. They're threatening this huge environmental disaster. The stakes are instantly sky high.
Yeah.
Global peril. We need a hero.
And this is where the game pulls its most infamous, most controversial move.
Yeah.
The protagonist switch.
Yes.
The big one. Instead of playing a Snake, boom, you're suddenly controlling this new guy, Raiden, a rookie agent, young, kind of untested, tasked with rescuing the hostages.
And this was a massive secret before release, wasn't it? The trailers deliberately misled everyone.
Totally. They showed Snake in situations that were actually Raiden's in the game. Imagine loading it up, expecting Snake, and getting this guy.
People were not happy. Surprise, confusion, frustration, anger even.
It was a deliberate subversion of expectations, right down to the character you inhabit. It throws you off balance immediately. Why am I not Snake? What is going on? That disorientation, that tension was part of the design.
A deliberate provocation, you called it. And it doesn't stop there. The conspiracies just start layering up, raising the stakes constantly.
Yeah, that ally you meet early on. LT junior grade Iroquois Pliskin, gruff Navy SEAL type.
Helps you out.
Turns out he's the real Solid Snake hiding in plain sight.
Which just makes you question everyone else even more.
Exactly. And then the hostage, President Johnson, drops the real bombshell, the Patriots. This secret group that secretly rule the country, manipulating democracy itself.
Wow.
And the Big Shell, which is a cover for Arsenal gear, a giant submersible fortress with an AI called GW.
So it's not just terrorists anymore. It's this vast hidden conspiracy. The stakes just went from saving hostages to, like, questioning the entire structure of power.
You realize you're just a pawn in a much, much bigger game, fighting shadows.
And the betrayals just keep stacking up, keeping you completely off balance. The leader of the Sons of Liberty, the fake snake, revealed to be George Sears, the former president, and a third clone of Big Boss Solidus Snake.
No way.
Yes, and he's not just after power, he wants to seize Arsenal gear to overthrow the Patriots. Another layer to the struggle.
Okay, that's wild.
But then it gets personal for Raiden. Solidus reveals he raised Raiden as a child soldier.
Oh, man. Suddenly, Raiden's past is directly tied into this whole insane plot. His personal stakes are through the roof.
And the twists just keep coming. The tension never lets up. Remember Olga Gurlukovich, the Russian mercenary's daughter?
Yeah, from the tanker.
She reappears as this mysterious cyborg ninja, Mr. X or Deep Throat. Turns out she's a Patriot double agent, forced to help Raiden to protect her own child.
Adding this tragic human cost to the whole conspiracy.
Yes. But the biggest betrayal for Raiden, his CO, the colonel guiding him, his girlfriend, Rosemary.
Yeah, what about them?
AI constructs, generated by GW, not real. Rose was ordered by the Patriots to become his lover just to spy on him.
What? That's devastating. His entire support system, his reality, just collapses. You feel as manipulated as he does.
Right. And then Ocelot, the puppet master, reveals he was a Patriot agent all along, orchestrating the whole thing. You literally can't trust anyone. The ground is constantly shifting.
And just never lets you feel comfortable or certain about anything.
Which leads to the S3 plan. Ocelot finally explains it all. The whole Big Shell incident. A simulation.
Simulation.
Yeah. Meticulously planned. Designed to artificially create a soldier as good as Solid Snake by replicating the Shadow Moses incident from the first game. Raiden was the test subject. His whole mission, his reality, completely fabricated and controlled.
That is the ultimate mind screw. It ties everything together, but in the most disturbing way possible, raising the stakes to an existential level.
And then it gets even bigger. After Arsenal gear crashes into Manhattan, an AI impersonating the Colonel and Rose contacts Raiden.
Oh, great. More AI manipulation.
It reveals GW was just one AI. And the real point of the S3 plan: to control human thought, to stop society degrading in the digital age because trivial information is drowning out knowledge and truth.
Wow. So it's not just about soldiers or conspiracies anymore. It's about controlling consciousness itself, the freedom of thought.
Exactly. And they order Raiden to kill Solidus, threatening Olga's child and Rose if he refuses. The control is absolute.
And the Patriots themselves. Still hidden. In the epilogue, Snake and Otacon decode this disc and find data on the Weissman's Committee, the 12 leaders of the Patriots, allegedly dead for 100 years.
So, who are they? How do they operate? It leaves you with this incredible unresolved tension, this sense of vast, unseen forces pulling the strings, the stakes for Raiden, for the world, for you as the player questioning reality. They're just immeasurable, utterly terrifying control.
Beyond the game themes, philosophy, and prophecy.
What's just incredible about MGS2, looking back, is that it wasn't just a complex plot, it was doing something intellectually ambitious.
Yeah, it's often called the first example of a postmodern video game, a primary example of artistic expression in the medium.
It uses that tension, right, between what the player can do and what the game makes them do to argue about ideology. It wasn't just trying to entertain, it was trying to make you think.
Definitely more than just entertainment. It's amazing how it became this vehicle for exploring really deep philosophical ideas.
Like what kind of themes are we talking about?
Oh man, a whole range. Meme theory, the original academic kind, about cultural ideas spreading, social engineering, AI, information control, obviously.
5th-gen warfare, conspiracy theories.
Political maneuvering, evolution, existentialism, censorship, the nature of reality itself.
The information age, VR, child exploitation.
And that core conflict between security and liberty, it just packed so much in, weaving it into this, well, bewildering but compelling narrative. It really demanded your attention.
And that infamous final dialogue scene between Raiden and the AI Colonel and Rose, that feels like the core of it. It's not just game dialogue, it's this prophecy.
It really is. The AI Colonel says, in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
It's chilling.
And AI Rose adds rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
The AI Colonel goes on, All this junk data preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate. The digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths. Hearing that now? It's uncanny.
It really is. It's describing our reality almost perfectly, but back in 2001, before so much of this became everyday discussion.
It's like they saw it coming. When AI Road says, everyone withdrawing into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.
That's echo chambers. That's curated feeds. That's exactly what we talk about now with social media, creating our own little reality bubbles.
Exactly. Deliberately filtering our own experience. And then the AI kernel just lands the final blow. The different cardinal truths neither clash nor mesh. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right. And this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
Oof. It's not about the game world at that point. It's a diagnosis of our information landscape.
Yeah.
How does that not resonate with your daily experience online, with news, with social media?
It absolutely does. The game nailed the dangers of information overload, the way truth fragments, the rise of these echo chambers, years before it became mainstream.
It's a profound statement on how fragile truth is when everything's connected like this. It leaves you wondering, how much of my truth is just self-selected?
Which is why people call it prophetic. A Cassandra of the digital age. It was ahead of its time for dealing with themes that later became culturally relevant in the 2010s.
The comparisons are undeniable now. The way the game dodged truth at every turn gets directly linked to post-truth politics, fake news, alternative facts, concepts that blew up years later.
And those small gated communities. People compare it directly to Facebook's curated newsfeed, how platforms let people intentionally censor their own experience.
It's practically a blueprint for that kind of digital self-isolation.
And think deeper the warnings about data surveillance, information manipulation.
Now, directly compared to things like the Cambridge Analytica scandal, election interference, the game was sounding alarms about data control, information warfare, before most of us even grasped the implications.
It was like a digital flare gun warning us.
Yeah, and IGN pointed out how that final act, breaking the fourth wall, asked these terrifying questions about the overload of data and how technology has led to an increasingly shaky definition of reality itself.
They compared it to deepfakes, machine learning, things that can literally fabricate reality now.
The game basically prepped us for a world where seeing isn't always believing online. How do you verify anything anymore?
No wonder academics jumped on this. Matthew Weiss at MIT talked about the very meta concept of how the game's design, the path it forces on the player, mirrors the government's control in the story.
Suggesting a player like Raiden has no agency other than what his puppet masters give him.
That's heavy. Questioning your own free will while playing.
Right, and Tanner Higgins saw the convoluted story and weird gameplay as a direct critique of biopolitical and informational control.
He argued it deliberately made players frustrated.
Yeah, to expose the hidden pleasures of the military game genre, forcing you to confront those control mechanisms in the game and maybe outside it too. The discomfort was the point.
Wow. Stephen Poole at Edge even wondered in 2012 if MGS2 was the pinnacle of a now-vanished era, the age of the experimental mainstream.
Noting how modern blockbusters play it painfully safe by comparison.
It really took risks, didn't it? Chose to provoke, not just please.
And philosophically, it lines up with Hobbes, Nietzsche, Hegel, Isaiah Berlin, grappling with freedom versus equality, internal conflicts of ideals.
It elevates the whole thing, making you think about huge societal questions while you're, sneaking past guards.
That experience stays with you. It forces you to consider that trade-off. Security versus liberty, a question that feels more urgent now than ever. It wasn't just a game of its time, it was a warning for ours.
The creator's vision, development, and intent.
Okay, so with all this complexity, all this prediction, you have to wonder, how much was planned? Was Kojima just lucky, or was this intentional?
Well, the sources are pretty clear. This was absolutely part of Hideo Kojima's grand game plan, his original design document from way back in January 1999.
2 years before release.
Exactly. It explicitly laid out the ambition. A series of betrayals and sudden reversals to the point where the player is unable to tell fact from fiction.
So the disorientation was baked in from the start.
Completely. The document stated every character lies to betrays someone once. The specific goal, blurring the line between what is real and what is fantasy. It shows this deep understanding of how to manipulate narrative to affect the player.
And it wasn't just about confusion.
No, it also mentioned ironies aimed at the digital society and gaming culture. It was designed from the beginning to challenge assumptions about information, control, the medium itself.
What about the gameplay elements? Were those planned early too?
Yep, the document outlined stuff that was revolutionary then. Hiding bodies, guards detecting shadows, destructible lights, that realistic squad AI, even vertical tension in level design.
Looking up and down for threats.
Right. And thematically, it mentioned passing on memories, environmental issues, and crucially, the digitization of the military everyday life and effects on personality. He was mapping out this incredibly ambitious, interconnected experience.
Okay, but the Raiden switch, why really do that? Beyond just messing with players.
It seems there were two main reasons, both very intentional. First, Kojima wanted to show Solid Snake from an outsider's perspective, give him more mystique.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second, and this is pretty practical, it solved the problem of writing tutorials for Snake. Kojima felt explaining basic controls to a legendary soldier like Snake would feel totally unnatural, break the immersion after the previous games.
That's actually brilliant. It would have felt weird. Press X to crawl, Snake.
Exactly. So Raiden, the rookie, allows for that exposition naturally.
And apparently, Raiden was also designed partly to appeal more to female players, based on feedback.
That's what the sources suggest, yeah. Feedback from debuggers on the first game's older protagonist shows some early thought about audience diversity, even if the execution was, well, controversial.
And of course, they kept Raiden completely secret. Misleading trailers showing Snake in his place, all part of the grand deception plan.
Absolutely. Made the reveal hit like a ton of bricks.
What's also really compelling, though, is how real-world events dramatically impacted the game late in development.
Yeah, the sources highlight significant changes to the game's ending following the September 11 attacks in New York.
The game's finale is set in Manhattan.
Right, and they had to be incredibly sensitive. There was originally this huge sequence showing Arsenal gear displacing the Statue of Liberty, crashing through downtown Manhattan. Obviously, that had to be removed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Other things, too. Scenes of Solidus shredding the stock exchange flag, American flags being removed from poles, all cut. Even Raiden's name spelling in Japanese was changed to avoid sounding like Bin Laden.
These weren't small changes. These were major alterations driven by a real-world tragedy.
And that's crucial. These difficult choices, forced by reality, arguably made the game's message even stronger. The themes of terrorism, government control, truth, they became intensely visceral, deeply resonant because the creators were grappling with them in the shadow of 9/11.
It gave the game this unintended heavy layer of gravity.
Absolutely. Even the music was part of the vision. The composer, Harry Gregson Williams, blended orchestral sounds with more electronic stuff like breakbeats. To reflect the plot's theme of a machine-dominated society, the score itself was reinforcing that central message about technology and control, unsettling you subtly along with the story.
Every element was working together.
It really seems that way, a comprehensive artistic vision reacting to the world around it.
Enduring influence, legacy, and reception.
Okay, so we've got the revolutionary gameplay, the mind-bending plot. Let's talk legacy. How did MGS2 go from being so divisive to being seen as, well, definitive?
Well, that initial divide was real. Gameplay, praised. Storyline, initially divisive. Big time.
People called it incomprehensible, overly cumbersome, complained about long cutscenes breaking the flow.
And the Raiden switch, as we said, was massively controversial with fans. People felt bait and switch.
Yes, it sold incredibly well, didn't it?
Massively. 7 million copies by 2004. Highest selling game in the whole series at that point. Shattered sales records in the UK, Japan. The anticipation was huge.
So weird disconnect there. Critics iffy on the story, but players bought it in droves.
Yeah, it suggests that even if people were confused or annoyed, they were still deeply engaged, fascinated. And it still won awards. E3 Best Console Game, Game Informer's Game of the Year, Sound Design Awards. It was recognized for its quality, even with the narrative controversy.
And technically, it was a monster. Digital Foundry called it a technical milestone, a killer app for the PS2.
It really set a new standard in cinematic presentation and attention to detail. Pushed the hardware hard.
Showing off huge numbers of enemies, amazing light and shadow effects, physics interactions.
And that advanced AI we keep mentioning, the levels were like mini sandboxes with tons of interactivity.
It really showed what the PS2 could do.
Hugely important for Sony. That E3 2000 demo alone built massive hype. MGS2 is credited as a critical factor in the PlayStation 2's best-selling success. Some say it single-handedly sold the console to many people.
It was the reason to buy a PS2 for a lot of gamers.
Definitely a system seller. A demonstration of the future.
And its influence on other games, still felt today.
Oh, absolutely. Wired called it one of the most influential games of the decade. They said every video game story that subverts a player's expectations owes a debt to MGS2.
That's huge. It gave creators permission to mess with the player.
It really did.
Yeah.
And specific mechanics, that cover system, the laser sight, became staples of stealth games as well as shooters.
You see it in games like Kill Switch, Resident Evil 4, Gears of War.
Its DNA is everywhere.
Yeah.
And narratively, it inspired postmodern games like Killer 7, meta stuff like Portal, games with big twists like BioShock.
Even Neil Druckmann from The Last of Us cited the Raiden reveal as inspiration for taking big narrative risks.
Yeah, its influence is just woven into modern game design, encouraging creators to challenge the audience, not just cater to them.
And it reached beyond games, too.
Seems so. Jordan Peele, the filmmaker, cited MGS2 as an inspiration. Said he knew he was experiencing the work of an artist whose craft just hits different.
High praise indeed.
And critics even compared it to Marvel's Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Noting similar themes, stealth, conspiracies, QC, that moral dilemma of liberty versus security.
Shows how universal those themes became, resonating in mainstream movies.
Definitely. It proved games could tackle complex societal issues in a way that had broader cultural impact.
So looking back after all this time, the verdict seems pretty clear. MGS2 is a controversial masterpiece.
It played a pivotal role in redefining the art of making video games after the turn of the millennium. It dared to be different, dared to provoke, and we're still talking about the questions it raised. Outro.
So wrapping up this deep dive, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, it really wasn't just a game, was it?
Not at all. It was this profound, almost disturbingly prophetic artistic statement.
It played with our expectations, pushed technology, and somehow eerily predicted this information-saturated post-truth world we're living in now.
Ask those tough questions about control, reality, our own agency in the digital age, way before most of us were even thinking about them.
It's a game that doesn't really give easy answers, does it?
No, but it gives you this amazing framework for questioning everything.
Yeah.
Makes you think about the unseen forces shaping how you see things, both in the game and, outside it.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. That's something to chew on. If a video game from way back in 2001 could predict the information wars, the echo chambers, the social fragmentation we see now with such unnerving accuracy,
Yeah.
what other digital realities might we already be living in, shaped by algorithms we don't see, curated truths fed to us without us even realizing it?
That's a chilling thought.
How much agency do we really have? In a world where fact and fiction blur constantly and our own little gated communities online are designed to keep us comfy, maybe, but also maybe keep us blinkered.
It's a question that needs constant vigilance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With tech moving so fast, information being manipulated in ever more sophisticated ways, the game's challenge, don't just accept, question, dig deeper, feels more vital than ever.
Indeed. So maybe this deep dive encourages you to revisit this classic, or at the very least, maybe look at the info flowing into your own small gated community with a bit more of a critical MGS2 kind of eye.
Stay curious. Stay questioning.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.